Again, so if you see me react to some kind of pain, I'm not saying it's something, not something else, but I'm saying it's probably my hip ball joint coming out and needing to be guided back in, or just waiting because it didn't come out all the way, and yeah. That happened to me in the shower this morning, and it also happened earlier whenever I did my first attempt at recording, so I don't have enough time to be doing multiple takes, really, so it happens, it happens. But yeah, that's happening. It's been happening for a while, and it happens enough that I at least know how to guide it back in, but also it happens enough that I know how to guide it back in. So, yeah, it's not fun, and it hurts. There's enough inflammation though that it's kind of forcing the ball joint out right now. So, yeah. That's not unusual. I mean, it's not that bad on the rest of me right now, so I'm good on that. I go through some points where like my ankles are so swollen and everything's just so swollen that I have to be very careful even just to move. This is just my hip right now, so it's actually not as bad as some days. So anyway, going on to what I wanted to talk about. So it's actually pretty amazing. Every Sunday we get together, and we play D&D. We play 3.5 because 3.5 is awesome, and also it's a good balance between like the advanced and first editions and the imaginative quality of it, and the I'm gonna tell you what to think, how to think, what to play, and how to play, and can limit you with this path shit. What is this shit? I decided years ago I didn't like that. So, and that was before the 5 point whatever. We don't play that shit. We play 3.5. Now, we aren't afraid to convert things to 3.5 if, like, something new comes out that we like. But generally speaking, we play 3.5. We don't mind playing earlier ones, but, like, the later ones are kind of lame. They're more like video games than a game where you sit around a table with friends and imagine things. D&D is basically pretend play for all ages. It is a game that you're imagining. It's half imagining, like, and a DM is the person who runs it. I'm a veteran player. I've played long enough, I'm apparently considered a veteran player. I'm not, however, a veteran DM. So I am DMing my first game. I know, right? Terrifying. But I've spent all this time on this world for years. And yeah. It was originally created, however, so it's based largely out of a world I created for a story, so. But whenever I got to it in the first game, I was like, oh my god, I finished all the maps that I needed to redraw because they were old and faded, and I hadn't known the trick about the hairspray whenever I did that. And so you know that this is a long ass time ago, because I've been using that trick for years. I've been using that for a good 2-3 years. No, it's been way more than 2. Okay, so like 3 or 4 years? I've been using it for a while. So I drew these maps forever back, and then I couldn't even find them all. So I still have to like draw new ones for those areas. But on the right side, I actually remember what they should look like. Yay! So anyway, I just like pulled what I was doing with them out of my ass so that I could like finish the map for the one place, because it was like, well, there is this one thing, but the map to that town is one of the things that I don't have right now. And that's where I need to take them, and half the things in between I don't have the maps for anymore, so I like have to like the general world, sky view map of the entire continent as my guide, and Yeah. It's not a huge continent. It's like the size of, I want to say, probably around Australia size. Except, like, it's the same size. It's kind of towards a circular sort of shape thing. So, there's a reason for that. And whenever they get to high enough level and get the quest, they can find out. And we'll find out whether they destroy the world, save it, or it just stays the same. See, I've got things in the back there. Do not look behind the curtain. But that's the thing. And my first D&D character is actually the Queen of the World. So, the known world. Not necessarily the whole world. Because players don't know this, but this land is not the only one out there. There's more. She's not the queen of that. But you gotta get through all the dead stuff first, and it's probably on the other side of the planet. I haven't decided yet. Mostly because I keep on trying to change the location, and I keep on shifting the geography. Because you have to understand that this is something that you can do. And you can change your ideas in there. And I'm still actually developing that part of the world, so, like, this gives me time. Also, I can shape it to the players. That's the general plan. Let them do stuff. And then be like, yeah, the world is like this. And then the next group of, what I don't get, though, is why I'm not even a good DM, yet. There's so much stuff I have to remind myself of, and I'm pretty sure that they know more than I do about it. I mean, I've been playing a long time, but they've been DMing longer. They've been DMing longer than I've been playing. I swear. So, these are I'm that level 5. I have a decent amount of experience, a respectable amount of experience. Maybe I'm a level 5, level 10, somewhere in there. Probably closer to 5, compared to them. And they're level 30. They have surpassed the 20th level, whatever, and they have gone to 30. And then they have gained more levels beyond that, and I am the level 5. Compared to them, I don't know shit. I know enough that I'm considered a respectable player. And at level 3, about, a town guard is, considered, a veteran. You had to do a lot to get there. So, actually, no, that's 2. Level 3, you're, the captain. So, level 3, you're the guard captain. Most of your people in a world in D&D aren't actually anything higher than a level 1. If they're even leveled at all. So, most characters aren't leveled characters. I actually pulled a species of undead out of my ass in the middle of the game. I couldn't find it, and I was gonna use this one, and then I was like, oh, fuck it. And I pulled it out of my ass. I just, created it. Do 6 points to the head, and it's dead. I had them, I needed something that was cannon fodder. Something that, was only really a threat in, large groups. Or, if you don't see it, and then it infects you. Because it's because of the dynamic of my world. Humans turn into undead, elves turn into trees. There's a reason for all of this. Because something happened that warped people. Humans' lives are in half, elves live longer, all sorts of stuff. So anyway, apparently, I feel like I've succeeded because we've been through 2 games, and the other veteran player besides Tim, he doesn't get through 2 games, maybe without being Yeah, I'm kind of getting bored with this character. He's getting bored with that character, or, this game, yeah, maybe he wants to run, or, like, these are veteran gamers who can't even keep each other occupied. Like, well, actually, Tim's the one that it's hard to keep. So, like, I'm like, yes! You just immediately get bored! Yes! And probably still will get bored pretty quick, though. Because he's not one of those who's really all that into the long, drawn-out campaigns. And this is supposed to be one, so, like, we'll probably switch off at one point, but I'm taking them through, like, some lower-level questing, and that's what we're doing. But it's tailored to the world, so, like, yeah. It's kind of got a fucked up society to it, so, yeah. But there's, like, reasons for everything, and, like, the kicker is that the queen, who they don't know as a queen, they think is a king, because of language. Well, Gene knows. Gene knows, because he knows the character. He helped me make it. We have to remake her, because I'm also adding, like, levels of stuff, because this is supposed to be, like, thousands of years after she ever existed. Yep. Her punishment for trying to avoid queendom or royalty, whatever, was to become immortal. Which, if you think of it in the I shall become immortal context, not much of a punishment. But she didn't want it, and it actually kind of sucks because you have to watch everybody die. Yeah. You have to live while a bunch of other people that you love and care for, like your children and your spouse and everybody, just die. Yeah. Let that sink in, because even as an elf, they only live for like 1,000 years in my world. They don't have the immortality, per se. She's even watched, like, her elf relatives die. She is eternally there, just the same, watching everything else move on around her. This is not a good thing. This is not a good thing. This is something actually pretty tragic as far as that goes. And I've never looked at the immortal stuff as something badass. I've looked at it as something like, well, unless everybody that you care about is an immortal, that kind of sucks. So anyway, she was punished with immortality. Like, you didn't want to be queen, so you ran away, and, so you were struck with immortality forever, and you have to be queen forever. Like, just over this one area. So that's actually how this area survived, because she was buku and old as fuck whenever everything happened, and managed to save them with the help of a bunch of druids who kind of died doing it and powering the area. It's basically a massive area effect that saved this area from what happened, so spoilers! So anyway, I'm kind of like considering this like a vague success, because I'm picking at myself in everything that I do. Because these two are veterans, and they've been running longer than I've been playing. Okay? And I'm considered a veteran, but they're like super veterans. They're like, these two could write books about it, and could create like books about systems that are based on it and all that. They have DM'd so much. I'm just like, and these two will jump back and forth whenever they're playing with each other as DMs. But they're both looking at me like my world is the most interesting thing since sliced bread. Which, okay, is a bad idiom because sliced bread isn't that interesting. But basically, Gene said it at one point. He's like, yeah, let's explore Luna's world. You're basically letting somebody into something that you've created, and it's like the ultimate creation because it never stops. And it is whatever you want it to be. But at the same time, you have to learn how to balance that with communicating that with your players, which is what I'm reminding myself the entire time. Like, all this stuff is going on in the world behind my head, and I have to remember, roll the dice. What do they see? And there was this one point whenever something happened and they got back to town and like all this stuff happened and they got, I guess, some extra stuff, and they were like looking at me like, did you just give us this because? I mean, I could have not. And I was like, yeah, this one person failed their... Oh, it was whenever they were in the tavern. This one person in the tavern failed their roll. Their con roll, so they were intensely drunk. Because one of them bought drinks for everybody, and it was like enough to pay for drinks for days. Which isn't very much, if you actually... Because we're going by the books on that. And one of them failed their roll, and they epically failed. And then, like, I rolled a couple other things for randomness, and basically what happened is yeah. They basically donated every piece of coin that they had on behalf of these two. Of the characters that these two were playing, and yeah. So a sacred prostitute showed up. And for those of you who don't know, no, we did not describe it because this is not a game that's based in, like, explicit things. You can play like that if you want, but whenever you have the danger of a child walking into the room, you tend to not. So Chris likes to occasionally sit in, so we don't do that. Also, sometimes he's sitting at the top of the stairs listening whenever he's not supposed to. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Gene has a world that they put Tolkien to shame, and people laud him for world building. As far as world building goes, he can put the masters to shame. But considering he is one, and has been working on this since he was a kid, yes, this is like his brainchild, okay? But he looks at my world and he's interested in it, but shit, this is terrifying. This is my better half. I myself have things that I've worked on this long. But he has, like, this world, and he's worked on it longer than, yeah, I've been alive. And, yeah, I'm just, like, terrified that he'll end up hating it or something, or that it just won't be interesting. I know that's irrational, because this is Gene, and it's not like it's boring, but me as a DM conveying that is kind of where you have to find that. You have to be able to convey that it's not boring. What are all these events going on? Let it all hit the fan. You know, and like other people who are really good at world building and want to show you the whole world, Gene will make you play through a few sessions, and I actually like this, before you get to the main event. And he'll have a main event planned. He's had groups never make it to the main event, because, you know, you have to make it like 3, 4, 5 sessions, and you have to have a group that's willing to do that. Some some groups are just in it because it's like this weird passing fancy sort of thing to them. Like, I don't know why they even do it. So me and Jean, we're those people that'll get there and we'll sit together and we'll like decide personalities for our characters. So we'll collab. Should our characters know each other? Should they hate each other? Should they love each other? Should they be friends? And then I'm like, well, I draw the line at hating you because I can't do that even in a character. You also have to nod to your personal limits. I cannot even kill an avatar of Jean. And your character is, in a way, I guess, your avatar. In that respect. For the purpose of that sort of thing. I'm just like, no, because I cannot completely separate the character from you. I will not be able to play a character willing to murder you. It will make me feel bad and shitty. And I don't want to do that because it's not fun. So yeah, you have your personal limits there, but like we'll decide whole personalities on these characters. We both have our favorites. I like to play druids. Druids rule the world in my world. But this also is reflective of the situations of the world. And I have a reason for things. And that's not why I did it. I actually was a toss-up between sorcerers and druids. Because it had to be something magic and really powerful, but also able to, like, commune with nature, so, yeah. Anyway, it feels kind of weird, kind of nice, because, like, they're actually kind of interested. And I'm like, oh my god, what if I fail? What if I fall flat on my face? And then I also wonder, what if it's not the world itself? What if it's just the fact that they both know what the other is going to do? What if, because you kind of, I guess you would get to that point, because they've been gaming together for a very long time. Like, there are others that have been, like, in their group for a while, and they're just not here right now. And whenever Tim moved back, we picked up a group, and we've just been playing together. So, I'm just like, I like to come up with convoluted characters, with complexities, and, this is more to do with, like, as far as I'm concerned, the human mind is its own little world. They're like pocket universes in this universe, not in the effect that they actually are in the literal sense, but in the effect that people are actually very complex. And the human mind is actually very complex, and I study people. Go ahead, laugh at me. I study people. So, not on any official, go ahead, laugh at me. I don't even go to college for this. I just study people. So, yeah. Not because I'm going for a job or anything, but just because I study people. So, this is interesting to me. Yeah. Now, dinner is done. I need to call back. But first, real quick, yeah. That's all I wanted to say. Yeah. This is kind of scatterbrained today. I'm kind of preoccupied, so yeah. But it really is kind of... I'm never going to tell them this, but it's kind of intimidating. Because it's kind of scary. Like, these guys have been DMs longer than I've been playing. And I've been playing a while. So, yeah. It's kind of... At the very least, I'm comfortable enough with the people in the room that I don't have to worry about them, like, starting to heckle me and shit. So, that's good. Never do your first time DMing with people that you're not sure of. I'm not incredibly at ease with new people. Most people apparently aren't, but I actually have reasons. So it's not just the fact that they're new, it's not just the fact that I don't know what they'll do, It's the fact that I have enough experience with people doing bad shit that I can imagine it. I can imagine things some people can't imagine. So, there's some things that initially there was there's some things I've made worlds for that these two don't even incorporate in their worlds at all. And I'm like, well, I can't imagine a world without this, so this has to be there. Because this is part of it. I don't graphically describe it, but it's there. And we all know it's there. It's kind of like the sex thing. We all know if I'm rolling for a certain kind of disease, that's something that happened there, and it's bad. And I'll allude to it, and I know these two well enough now that, well, I know Gene well enough to begin with. He knows exactly what I'm talking about, and he'll, kind of nudge it Tim and let him know, hey, I'm talking about this. And, we're okay with this because all of us have this understanding that if this is something in the game, and Munchkin can hear it, there's even a vague possibility of it. We're not going to, come out with it. So there's some awkward moments, but it can be, so far it's kind of fun running. But I'm also more than happy to, go back to seeing what happens next in Gene's game. Now, to be fair, Gene isn't as great at conveying the depth of his world in game. I mean, he can at times, but it's all stuff that Tim has heard before. And it's actually a lot bigger, and the scope is a lot more than that. And everything that he puts into it, if he takes it from anything that comes out, he always adapts it, so it's never the same anyway. Alignments are gray areas, and I use the same thing. You can run into a goblin in the middle of the forest. They might be evil, they might be good. You don't know. You have to communicate with them, or you have to detect alignment. Oh, that's fun, because there's several different kinds of detect alignment, and you can blow through your all day. You can blow through all your spells on that shit. But it forces people to think, and that's the type of world I want. I want my players to think. Them to ask questions is this dragon good or bad? Please don't ask me questions like, can I start with a dragon? No, you cannot start with the dragon at first level. No. Nobody's starting with a dragon at first level. First level, you are one step above the puny villager. You are not fighting dragons. You cannot have a backstory where you are fighting dragons. You are not someone who has done anything truly amazing at all. You are still quite ordinary. You are barely out of your apprenticeship. You are still an apprentice! Yes, dear?
I'm thirsty.
You're thirsty?
Yes, I'm thirsty.
Well, guess what? Dinner's done.
Okay, come on down, Chris.
I'm gonna stop now.